to the Most High God, Yahweh, and all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, right? We are out here, we are the Hebrew Israelites, and the primary understanding that we come out to bring to our people, right? People think that we're just angry guys on the corner standing here yelling at people, but we believe that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans of Negro and indigenous descent are the Israelites of the Bible, the people of the book, through historical reference, through biblical proof, through spiritual evidence, through relics, through scholarly understanding, and such and forth, right? So our goal is to uplift our people from from a low state to a high state, to bring our people from selling drugs, from prostituting, from doing all types of matter of maliciousness to, doing righteousness. That's our goal, the main goal. We're not here to be enemies with so-called black people, so-called Hispanic people. We're not here to start fighting them. We are here to uplift our people and guide them and lead them to the best of our ability, and that one day they may be able to teach us something new if we come across them again. So the lesson at hand today is dealing contextually with accountability and the underdogs being mislooked. That's the whole topic of the lesson today. You might think that you are little or you are one person, but you can make a big difference in your community. Right?
1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7 in the NLT. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
And people can look at a man or a woman or sister, right, and say, oh, this brother, he too small. He can't be no leader, or he don't have a big beard, or he doesn't have this job, he doesn't have this degree. But he can make a difference in the community. Because there's people out here, right, in our community, when you look at the so-called black and Hispanic community, most of our role models are actors and sports players, right? People that do sports like NBA, baseball, all those different things. And when you look at it, I mean, a lot of these guys, like when you do like the background and this, whatever they got into, a lot of them didn't have degrees. They didn't have all these things that make people great according to the world. Like, what degree do you have? They went based off raw talent and their spirit, right? They didn't know that they would get big one day as an actor or a sports player, because you're competing against thousands of people. But more so, that's a worldly, point of view. I want to go more into like the Bible, right? Because if you believe and subscribe to Christianity or Islam, you should be listening. Because this is very important, right? If you follow the Quran, it says to refer to the Injil, the Torah. And if you are a true Christian, a follower of Christ, as you say, so-called black, Hispanic, man, woman, and child, you must listen to these things and try to prove, figure out what we are trying to say. So the verse that I want to get into first is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 to 13. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 to 13. And we have to understand the things that we are dealing with. When it comes to accountability and our people not receiving what they need to receive, we look at it from a physical point of view. That's the problem in the community. We're looking at it very physical. But sometimes we have to look at it from a spiritual point of view, right? Because everybody nowadays says they're spiritual, right? Everybody says that. People that follow Kemet, Islam, everybody says they're spiritual. All right, you can read that.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 6 and verse 11. Put on all of God's armor, the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
And long story short, the armor of God, right, is by you having faith in him, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and following the examples of the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus or Isa. That ultimately is the armor of God. When you get into that, you'll see these things. But we are wrestling not against the physical principalities, because what? You got to look at it deeper.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
So sometimes the people, what we try to do is we look at the physical appearance, right? We look at the fact that another brother tried to spin the block, or he did something to your family, or he wronged you, or he stepped on your shoe, or even I would take it as far as to say we will look at the enemies or the other nations of our people and look at the physical of them and say, okay, this white man did this to me. But we have to understand it's something deeper that's going on. Yes, they may be the physical vessel used to destroy us, punish us, afflict us, whatever terminology you want to use. But it's deeper. What is the deeper thing? They're being used. They're just vessels. They're being used for something, right? And the Most High allows demons, evil spirits, and evil angels to be present within these moments, right? And an example that you can pull Job chapter 1, verse 6 to 22. Job was an underdog in this incident, and he took accountability for things that he did and the things that he may have possibly not done in his point of view.
This is Job chapter 1, verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth?
So the Most High is allowing Job, right, his servant, to be tested for a reason, right? And somebody could look at it, Satan, which literally means in the Hebrew, right, it just means adversary or accuser in Hebrew. Somebody could be of Satan, and it's not necessarily talking about a spiritual entity. Like your own people or another nation could be of Satan. They could be a devil, right? A deceiver, an accuser, an adversary in that context of that moment, right?
And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doeth Job fear God for naught? Have not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land.
So Job was an upright and upright and perfect man, right? And some brothers and sisters out here walking the street, you might think you are perfect, you are good, you know, you never did no harm, but you like, why is all this stuff happening to me? Why am I not in a better position where I could do better for my family and myself? Why do I have to do X, Y, and Z and do evil, malicious things to provide for my family? Why do I have to do this? A lot of it goes back to you not seeing the true value in you as a person, right? You're not seeing yourself, you see yourself as a low individual. You're not taking accountability, and you're not seeing yourself higher than what you actually are, or who the Most High sees you to be. Because Job, in this instance, when you read through the story dealing with Job, Job is just like, I'm nothing. I can't, you know, he don't really know what's going on behind the scenes with Satan, the spiritual side. He don't see it. And the Most High allowed it to happen because he knew how powerful his servant, right, was. He allowed it to happen because he knew what he was capable of. Job didn't know as an underdog what he was capable of, right? He didn't know. And it,
verse 11, But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he had, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he had is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine.
Yeah, and when you look at it, all this evil that's happening, yes, you could blame the vessel that is doing it to you, or the vessel that's bringing it out there, but it's deeper, it's spiritual, right? Satan or demons are being on these people, and they don't see it. They allow demons to enter their life. They don't know what demons they're holding on to with the maliciousness that they are doing out here. You can blame the vessel, but again, when that vessel dies, that evilness is still going to be out in this world. So we have to take accountability as a nation or as a people. We could blame everybody but ourselves. That's easy. That's real easy. Well, my mom was this, she didn't do this for me, so I'm going to go be a crackhead, right? I could go blame because other brothers and sisters out here doing the wrong thing, so now I'm going to be a drug dealer. I can even blame the white man and say, oh, well, he held me. But we have to take accountability at some point. We could blame all day and blame, all right, this person did this to us. But what are we going to do about that stuff that happened to us? What are we going to do about it? You just going to sit there and cry all day about it?
This is the book of Romans chapter 14 and verse 12 in the NLT. Yes, each of us will give a personal account unto God.
And each of us will give a personal account to the Most High. For all the things, yes, we are judged as a whole, as a nation, but there is individual things that's written, right, as you know, in Paul's epistles, it talks about the book of life. All these things are being recorded. All the evil deeds and the good deeds that we have done, everything. It's seen, right?
This is the book of Matthew chapter 12 and verse 36 in the NLT. And I tell you this, you must give an account on judgment day for every idle word you speak. The words you say with Salaki, the words you say will either acquit you or condemn you.
And again, this all goes back to accountability. And that day, in the end, you're going to have to take accountability for the wrong and the right that you have done. You can't say, well, imagine you go to the Most High in your deathbed, right? And your spirit goes to the Most High, and you're allowed to have a conversation with the Most High, if that was a thing. And you make all types of excuses for all matters of evil that you've done. The Most High don't care about that. You're going to have to take accountability for that. That's what it all comes down to. That's the point of it. Like, we have to own up to the actions and the things that we are doing, and we have to do the right thing. We can't blame everybody else for our mistakes, whether it's our family, our brother, our sister, our mother, that man across the street that looked at me the wrong way, so now I want to punch somebody in the face because he looked at me, so now I'm just like, you have to take accountability and figure out what is going on? Why are you being held back? Why can't you do better with your life? Where you gotta stand on the corner and sell drugs, or where you gotta go rob women and punch other brothers out, or do criminal activities, and then blame other people all day about it. Why you can't proceed with your life? From the carnal point of view, why you can't get a better job, or why you can't provide for your family or do better? Why?
This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 10 in the NLT. For we must all stand before Hamashiach to be judged. We will each receive whatever we deserve for the good or evil we had done in our earthly bodies.
And again, sometimes some of the judgment that can be, there's three things I like to talk about. There's judgment, affliction, and tribulation. I see them from my point of view that those are three different things. Sometimes evil things can happen to you because of the stuff that you put out. Sometimes, like Job's situation, it could be tribulation or affliction, for you to overcome something because you are great and you don't know you're great. The Most High know you're great, even though you might think that you are nothing, right? That you are just a black or Puerto Rican, a Dominican, a Cuban. You ain't nothing. You at the bottom of the pole, whatever country you in. You are higher than you think you are, right? Outside of those nationalities that we prescribe to now.
This is Hebrews chapter 4 verse 13 in the NLT. Nothing in all creation is hidden from God. Everything is naked and exposed before his eyes. And he is the one to whom we are accountable.
And everything that people hide is going to be seen. All the brothers out there that are trying to be, do the right thing and change, the Most High still is going to reveal that. And you can take it and fall down and become evil. Go be a treacherous monster, right? Or you could take accountability for your wrongs that you have done in the community and rise up and do better and be an example to those individuals that's doing the same thing, right? You could truly do that in the eyes of the Most High.
All right, this is 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 4. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span.
And I'm painting the picture, right? Goliath, he was a giant man. Imagine imagine an individual like Shaq. An individual like Shaq, but more athletic and more flexible and bigger and stronger. A little bit bigger than Shaq with more muscle and might. And you just an average brother that's 5'10". In this instance, David is the underdog. right? And the picture is being painted.
And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass.
And this big giant man that you see, he's armed with armor plates all around his body and a giant sword. A sword that's bigger than you, bigger than a grown man that's 200 pounds. And he's holding it with no problem, right?
And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron.
So this man is being described, Goliath, it was being described as a man with fierce countenance power. You know, and every other man, there's thousands of, mind you, the picture, when you read through the whole story, there's thousands of other men. There's a military there. And you got to think about this, right? The picture that David is described, that David, most people, you know, think, or scholars will say that David was a teenager at this time. And David was probably no more than probably like, I want to say, because we don't really know 100%, but I would assume 150 to 200 pounds, right? And he's probably the size of the average man at the time. And this is a boy, right? And he's not afraid of this giant individual. In this instance, as an underdog, everybody else is afraid. And if you think about Goliath, that can be the accountability to everybody in our community, the so-called Black Hispanic community. Goliath is that accountability. Everybody is running from that accountability. They're afraid. And the underdog in this instance, David, he's not afraid to run toward that accountability and take up the role that he has to do in that certain, you know, instance where everybody else is cowering and afraid.
And his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose ye a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me, and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if...
And again, this is proving what I said. Goliath is saying, come down and show me a man. Who is man enough to fight? And that's the same thing we have to ask ourselves as men, and even sisters in the community, in the so-called Black and Hispanic community. Who is willing enough to stand and fight for what is right? Stand against the drug dealing in the community, the pedophilia in the community, the nonsense in the community. I said this before, we can blame the white man all day, but when are we going to take accountability for our actions? I see brothers that are drug dealers blaming the white man, but you selling crack to a pregnant black sister. Or brothers that's Puerto Rican in the Badlands saying F the white man, but you over there killing another Puerto Rican brother. You blaming the white man all day, but what are you doing to make the wrongs right that you doing in the community? What are you doing? The same big bad wolf that you are blaming, you were trying to be a bigger bad wolf than him. What are you doing right for the community? You have to be like David in this instant and stand up and be not afraid to the accountability, and be not afraid as he was as the underdog. You might think, I'm nobody, I'm just one person. Well, there's thousands of other people that think they're just one person too. And all it can take is one person to stand. And then a couple brothers stand, or a couple sisters stand, and then you have a nation. That's the whole, when you look at the whole understanding of what Hebrew Israelites teach, that's our whole understanding, nationhood building. We fell as a nation, and the goal is to rise our nation back up.
That's right.
That's the whole thing. Right?
Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants.
And can you brothers and sisters honestly, and I'm not saying to go out and kill nobody, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm using this physical passage, right, this physical instance as a spiritual and mental picture for you. I'm not saying to go out and kill brothers that are doing evil and cut heads off. I'm not saying none of that. What I'm saying is, can you kill the evil within you that you may be doing? Can you kill that and take accountability for it? Or will you allow it to kill you and be a slave to it? and make all the excuses in the world why you can't do whatever and why your kids can't do this and why, because grandpa and grandma and X, Y, and Z. Will you be a slave to that? The generational curse? Deuteronomy 28, right?
And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of the Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. And he had 8 sons. And the man went among men, and the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn.
But basically, in this instance, like I said, Saul was he was big too. He was powerful, right? Just because you don't see big brothers that appear to be strong and big standing, these brothers that are so-called drug dealers in their hood, they tough, they this, that don't mean you as an underdog or by yourself. That don't mean you can't do it. Because David was by himself. Saul wasn't on the same type time David was on. But David was still the one that handled the situation. While the tough guys that were standing on the corner, the drug dealers, they so tough, they got all the money, all the drugs, all the guns. They're not going to be the ones to stand up for the community and the wrong that's going on. They have the ability to because they have money and power and weapons and X, Y, and Z. But it's going to be them underdogs. Because in them days, in these last days, when all the tribulation is going on in the world, a lot of these so-called street dudes, they're going to be scared, holding on to their loins, crying. Why these young brothers that's standing up, they're going to be strong and bold as a lion. And these last days, to stand up against what is wrong and in the community, right, in the world as a whole, and speak up for it. Because it takes a lot of courage to speak up for wrong. Nobody wants to speak up for the right thing. Everybody want to hold their head down and be afraid. But nobody wants to keep their head up and do the right thing and speak up for what is right. Because everybody's afraid of what somebody else is going to think about them. What the street dude on the corner going to do, he going to look at him. Everybody's afraid. But when you got the power of the Most High with you, you keep his laws, statutes, commandments, and you have faith in him and the Messiah that sent, you're not afraid of none of that. You're not afraid of none of that.
1 Samuel 17:23. And he talked with them. Behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of God, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth the Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?
And David, a servant of the Most High God, right, an Israelite man from the tribe of Judah, he was not afraid of this. And better words, somebody that's, like another nation, a heathen or a Gentile, but in the context of how I'm trying to apply it, somebody that's doing the wrong thing, somebody that's evil, they malicious. It could be of your own people, or in the other nations in general. But for the most part, he wasn't afraid to stand up and stand up against them. Everybody else was caring about the riches of what they could receive. But they were all shook and afraid. They weren't worried about, all right, this will make our nation look better. This will make us be a more profound, powerful people. They weren't worried about that. As we say in the community today, black or brown power. Nobody's worried about that. Nobody's just worried about that today. Everybody's doing their own thing if you pay attention to the world that you in today. Right,
about to fight, right?
Yeah, you can get that. And this is basically, this fight that you're about to hear, even though David was the underdog in this situation, he was, I'm going to paint the picture. Let's say he was 150 and he was 5'9", and he's fighting this giant beast, this man that is like 7 foot, 300 pounds, powerful. The man that Goliath is the accountability that you are running from. David is you. You could be the underdog and get that accountability, or you could be like those fake, big, strong dudes, the so-called street dudes that you know have all the credibility from a physical standpoint, seeing them visually, but spiritually they are weak. Mentally and emotionally they are weak. Right?
1 Samuel 17:45. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth.
And David, being that underdog, you know, that small individual that wasn't afraid to take accountability, he went straight forward for it and took that. A lot of these big, a lot of these big, strong guys that was in this military, they was afraid. They was running from the accountability. And that's the whole point that we need in the so-called Black and Hispanic community. We need a lot of brothers and sisters to take accountability and do the right thing and push right out into the community, right? Even if you don't care about what Hebrew Israelites are teaching and you don't want nothing that we do, you don't want to follow it, at least do things that are righteous. If you say you are a Christian or a Muslim and you're supposed to adhere to the Bible, at least do the things that the Torah is saying to do. And follow the example that the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, right, who you call Jesus and Isa, set forth to do. And this is how we will change the community. Instead of backbiting, gossiping, backstabbing, pushing drugs to the community, trying to look tough, sisters chasing the gold digger lifestyle, stuff like that. We got to stop doing that as a people. Because the rest of these nations, and I don't care what the rest of these nations think, but the rest of these nations, like the Chinese man, the Arab man, the Indian man, the white man, they look down upon us because of our behavior as a community. So every time we bring issues out that need to be handled as a community, the other nations of people that are not Black and Hispanic downplay it, because they're like, how can you do X, Y, and Z if y'all kill each other all day? If y'all sell drugs to your own community all day? And to a point, I mean, he got a point. That's a cut. But the point is, we got it. That's where the accountability take place. Once we take that accountability, they can't do that. They can't take that from us. They may, throughout history, a lot of these other nations may have destroyed us, but they can't take our spirit from us. The Most High can only do that. So we have to stand up and do the right thing, right? You got anything else?
This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 5 in the NLT. Examine yourselves to see if your faith is genuine. Examine yourselves to see if your faith is genuine. Test yourselves. Surely you know that Yahushua HaMashiach is among you. If not, you have failed the test of genuine faith.
And we got and it goes, like I said, it goes back to taking the initiative and being serious and humble and being, having that genuine wanting to change. Not for views, not for money, not because you want all the women and you want women to think you're a good guy. You should be wanting to change the community for the sake of the Most High and for your nation, even though you may not get a reward out of it. I'm probably not going to get no reward out of this physically. It's not like anybody's coming up here giving us millions of dollars for what we're teaching on how we trying to change the community. Nobody cares. But that few select may hear and care, and they're the underdogs that will initiate the change. That kingdom building mindset, right? That nationhood building, that social stable autonomy building, that mindset.
This is Psalms chapter 94, verse 16. Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity?
And who's going to, and you brothers and sisters out there that's listening, who's going to rise up against the evil in the world and in our community specifically? Who's going to rise up and be that underdog like David when he took down Goliath? That underdog like Job, when everybody was saying he probably did something wicked and he getting judged of the Lord. But the Most High was allowing Satan to tempt him because he already knew what he was capable of. The Most High already knows what some of you brothers and sisters out here are capable of. You just have to find what it is. Like the elder, he told me, right? He told me you have the muscle to do the workout, right? When I was struggling doing the workout, but it's mental. And your mind, you think you don't, but the muscle is there. You just have to figure out how to activate it. You have to figure out how can you be that change in our community. Most importantly, coming back to your heritage as an Israelite and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. That's mostly the most important aspect of it, right? And the rest of that will be added, like Joshua 1:8 says. This is the last verse.
Haggai chapter 1 and verse 7 in the NLT. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says in the NLT. Look at what's happening to you. All right. Verse 5. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. Look at what's happening to you. You have planted much, but harvest little. You eat, but are not satisfied. You drink, but are still thirsty. You put on clothes, but cannot keep warm. Your wages disappear, as though you were putting them in pockets filled with holes. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. Look at what's happening to you.
And at the end of the day, like I said, everybody might think with the accountability and being an underdog and rising up, they might think it's always about the money. You can make the change in the community without the money. Because at the end of the day, all the nice clothes, suits you put on, the clean cuts, that's not going to change the community. You got to actually look what's happening to you. Because all this stuff that I'm talking about with accountability, there's millionaires that's out here doing the same thing. There's brothers that leave the hood. You know, they start rapping and leave the hood, get all this money, and they still selling drugs in the community. They still getting gun charges. And these are supposed to be brothers that are millionaires. Right? So at the end of the day, man, look at the man in the mirror and change this stuff. Stop running with the wrong crowd of people. Stop standing on the corner all day. Do the right thing and be a man. Right? Be a sister of God, a sister or a brother, a man or a princess of God, of Yahweh. Right? That's what it comes down to. And with that, I say shalom and shalom, which means peace on to you.